Hey friends, hope you're doing amazing. Hey, I'm so excited to share next few minutes with you. Now, this video is going to be specifically beneficial for those who are either new to the real estate market or you may have done some business before but haven't done anything for past few years. So you're not brand new to the market, but you're sort of like new to this time in the market. The reason I'm recording this video is I wanted to have an open, genuine, candid conversation with you. There has been so many times when I was in your shoes, which is on the client side of real estate. I really wished and hoped that I was able to sit down with a professional and have this type of a conversation with them. Everything that I saw was so much wrapped into marketing, media, and trying to make realtors look the best people. And I think that all has its space a little bit in the marketing and media space. But I think end of the day, we do business with people we like and trust. And if we cannot have an open-hearted, more vulnerable kind of type of conversation that are authentic and genuine, it's hard to build that trust. And if you don't build that trust, you're constantly wondering if you're doing the right thing, if you're making the right decision. You're constantly kind of overlooking your shoulders a little bit. And I think that kind of feeling makes you kind of lose on the opportunities that could be ahead of you, especially in your next deal. On the other hand, if you can fully trust where you're going, you sort of like know what you're doing. There is a clear understanding of all the steps, and you not only know what you're doing, but you understand why you're doing behind it. I think that can make a big difference in how you proceed with your transaction, and you could come ahead. Now, I used to send this message in an audio format to some of my new clients, and I heard lots of great feedback. Many of them have kind of really showered me some great praise over this and how much it has helped them and all that, and which is fantastic. And I really appreciate that. Not discounting their sentiments or the words that they sent us, but I think the real value of conversation like this is if it reaches out to more people. I think messages like this need to be heard by people who are just getting into the real estate market more often than they do now. So I just decided to record a video on it. I'm looking forward to have this conversation with you. You'll have to pardon me with some imperfections on it because, as you know, I'm not a professional speaker or a podcaster, so I'm recording it sort of like at my home. So there would be some blemishes in it. Please overlook that and really get to the heart of the matter, okay? So let's have a good, candid conversation on this. Okay, first things first. Let's talk a little bit about where you probably are today. So if you are somebody who's getting into the market either brand new or after several years, you're probably just like most other clients who have gotten into the market, you're probably just like them. And the reason I know what that feeling is like, because I have been on the buyers or seller end multiple times throughout last 25 to 30 years. I've also been somebody who's looked at mortgages and was totally confused by what's happening. I've also seen and hoped that my real estate agent will do their job good enough for me to win in the marketplace, right? But when I became a professional in this area of real estate, I kind of really took upon me to study the market and study where clients are in the beginning phases of their research or beginning phases of their journey. Here is what I found, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you are probably somebody who have these great goals of finding a right property, making kind of great move. All those are great, but if you kind of step back a little bit, deep down in your heart, you probably have one or two of these things that I'm going to share next. The first one is you probably have some form of fear of not making a mistake in this move. Let's face it, it is one of probably the most expensive move that you have probably made. Financially, it's very challenging, especially in days like this. You probably got everything you got put into this particular deal. And you know you can do well, but you also know that making a mistake is quite easy. You miss one little thing, and that could be a mistake. And unfortunately, that mistake can turn out to be an expensive one. And you simply just don't want to make that mistake. Okay. Second thing that might be in your mind behind that, sort of like behind the curtains, would be something like, you know what? Not only I don't want to make a mistake, I really want to optimize my opportunity and my dollar value in this deal. Let's face it again, real estate is expensive, and most of us don't have millions of dollars laying around just to throw in deals. Some investor may, but most families probably don't. And so we got everything we got financially put into this deal, and we're going to make the most of it, right? Like every dollar, whether I'm on the buying side or selling side, or if I'm borrowing money to buy this real estate, I want to make sure that I'm on making the best of my dollar that I possibly can. So you might be there. Here is a third little underlying factor that I think most of us strive to achieve. We want to do this thing as stress-free as possible. Obviously, real estate and mortgages by its nature can be stressful. Not only they can be stressful, they can be confusing. Half of it you probably don't even fully understand. And there is a whole lot of a notion out there with like you read everything for yourself and you be responsible for yourself. You go seek independent legal counsel out there. And we are constantly pumping that message out because we don't want people to make mistakes. But hey, there's a good majority of people that even if they read the contract word per word, half of it they probably wouldn't understand. So that creates stress, that creates confusion. And then a lots of change that's happening in between, like you're going from one place to another. Maybe you're uprooting your family, you're uprooting your work. How are kids going to settle? Where is going to be my office? Am I going to have an office? How are my pets going to live? There could be ton of change. And that change mixed with fear of not having to make a mistake, mixed with fear of new place and having to rely on professionals who are leading you. And depending on if they're leading you good or bad, that could be a source of stress in some degree. So needless to say, there can be lots of stress in real estate deals. But yet everyone's goal is to try doing it as stress-free as possible. Okay. Now, here is something that I can tell you with reasonable confidence after being on the client side of the business as well as the professional side of the business, that yes, you can do this transaction mistake-free. Yes, you can make the most of every dollar you have in there. And yes, you can make it a stress-free experience. But the challenge is you probably do not know how to go do that, right? So most people, when I ask them this question, well, do you know how to go do that? They go, well, I don't know. I guess that's where my realtor comes in. And, I really hope and pray that the professional you find is capable of doing all that for you. But the sad reality is that a good chunk of professionals out there can't do that. They're just not equipped enough, not trained enough, not foresightful enough, have not studied the market enough, or whatever other reason is there. Can they list a home? Yes. Can they help you buy a home on paper, quote unquote, in terms of creating a paperwork for you, creating a contract for you that you sign? Yeah, most of us are pretty competent in doing that. But is that all it takes to make a successful real estate deal? No. As a matter of fact, that part that I just said, listing and paperwork, is maybe only 10, maybe 15%. The rest of the 75, 80, 85% deals with human psychology, human mindset, and human aspect of the deal. And what I find through my career and through my experience of being on client side and now being on the real estate side is majority of the professionals out there unfortunately lack that. They can be great people in terms of dealing with them. They can be very comfortable, very warm, very friendly in many ways. And those are all great strengths and not discounting that. But again, being comfortable with somebody, being friendly with somebody, being warm to somebody does not really necessarily mean you understand the negotiations, the sales, the process, the human psychology of the deal. And I think majority of the deals are lost on this side of the equation, which is very rarely paid attention to, versus this side of the equation, where everybody is always talking about. So I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 simple key things that you can do that will allow you to win here. And you have to trust me when I say this, because I'm talking about this through experience on both sides. Remember, the client side and the real estate professional side. You can win a lot here. One, nobody's winning, nobody's going there because this is not a crowded space at all. You can come ahead if you work through here a lot more versus if you try to compete here. And I'm going to show you how to win in this space. Now, this is a type of a message, which again, when I was on the client side, I really only hoped and wished that some professionals sat me down and kind of took me through this. Unfortunately, it did not happen. So therefore, I did what everybody else said, kind of just hooked up with a realtor, whoever I could find at the time. I thought they were all the same. That was a big mistake on my part. I thought they can all list and buy the home, so they must be the same thing. They're all doing the same thing, must be doing the same work. Found out not so. They're vastly different from each other. And we'll talk a little bit more on that. But I really kind of sort of like dive myself hard into this and try dealing hard on this side of the equation. And sometimes I won, sometimes I didn't. At the best, my results were very average on every deal I made. Some deals I actually lost. Some deals I could have done a lot better, but I settled for a lot less than I could have done. And those were all the things I did not want to do, but I just did not know how to go do the opposite of it, which means how to maximize my dollar value, how to do it stress-free, and how to avoid making a mistake. So in the next little segment of this video, I want to talk about how do you do those 3 basic things a little better. And my goal is, even if it equips you about 50% better than where you are today, you'd be in better space to go make that deal happen for yourself. Okay, here we go. Step number 1. There are 3 key areas I want you to pay special attention to when you go into your next real estate deal. And I want to take a minute to explain each one of them. The first one you should pay attention to is who you choose to do business with as your professional, meaning who do you choose to hire, whether it is on the real estate side or on the mortgage side. Now, why is that important? Well, let me explain a little bit through the lens of a professional who have done lots of deals out there, probably hundreds and thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of profitability in their deals, and multiple complexes. So like this guy is way up there when it comes to real estate success. Here's what he said. He said the number one thing I always pay attention to in my deals is who I'm going to do this deal through. And I was like, why is that important? Let's call him Fred. Fred, why is that important? Because that my success and my failure in that deal depends on that professional. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that. I mean, as in if they work hard or not work hard. He said, yeah, but you got to go deeper than that. I'm like, okay, well, explain more. Obviously, I don't fully understand you. He goes, well, as you know, that 90% of real estate is human behavior. I want somebody who understands human behavior really well. I want somebody who's a little bit more proactive. I want somebody who has great network behind them. And I want somebody who could negotiate well. And here's the word he dropped, which at first I thought, oh, that was kind of bad. He said, I want somebody who can sell well. I'm like, okay, I can understand if they are on the listing side for you, you want them to sell well, but is it still important if I'm buying? He goes, yeah, I want you to look for somebody who can sell well, who have sales experience. I'm like, okay, why would that be important? He said, because if they can sell well, they understand the selling game really well. They would understand the buying game extremely well, which will benefit me. I'm like, okay, that kind of you're bringing it home, kind of things are making sense. I say, but how about having somebody who's super experienced, I'm feeling comfortable with, all these things that I hear in the media, like the advertisements that we see, somebody with integrity. How about all that? And he laughed at me. He goes, Sat, if you're going to hire a professional who's going to help you do the biggest deal of your life potentially, you hope that they have integrity. You hope that they're honest. You hope that they have some experience. If they don't even have that, why are they in business? And more importantly, why are you hiring them? Because if you are choosing somebody based on how comfortable you feel with them, brother, that's just a prerequisite that they got to make you feel comfortable around them a little bit. Like they have to put in this effort to make sure that you feel comfortable around them. But if you're choosing to do business with them just because you're comfortable around them, that's a great start. But other than that, it's nothing more than that. It's not substantial enough. And that kind of resonated with me a lot more, that conversation with him. And ever since, I started paying attention to those deals who've been extremely successful. And guess what? Without fault, I have found it 100% of the time that people who did well in real estate, their agents and their mortgage professionals were well chosen ones. They were not random people. They were not just somebody off the side or a cousin that they know, or my mom did business with this guy. That wasn't the case. They interviewed a few of them, but they chose really well. This subject is so crucial that I have recorded a separate video and designed a PDF on it to give our clients a bit of a sense in how to choose a professional well. There are few key points that I have listed. I have also listed some standards that you should be comparing them against, and how to go about asking those questions without coming across rude. Because one of the challenges that I find most people don't qualify their professionals because of are they don't want to come across rude, or they just don't know what questions to ask. They don't want to kind of come across obnoxious and kind of come across like, hey, I'm the boss, you have to serve me. Because let's face it, most of us are nicer people. We don't want anyone to think or feel that way about us. So to avoid the discomfort of it, we just totally avoid the whole process. And the only reason we feel uncomfortable with it because we don't know what to do, how to do it. But if you knew how to do it and you could successfully do it, you would not feel uncomfortable with it. As a matter of fact, you'll do quite a great job. And I can tell you with reasonable assurance, your 5-year-old can ask some questions and quickly, I shouldn't say 5-year-old, but maybe your 5th grader can easily have a conversation with somebody, even at their level of maturity, and easily qualify. I can say with reasonable confidence, you can certainly do a good job, given that you know how to carry a conversation and what questions to ask. That's all it takes. There isn't too much to it. You can do it over the phone, you can do it in person, over a chat on the text, no problem. Okay. But the first thing you got to pay attention to is who is going to represent you. Your success or failure in the next deal is going to depend on your professional. That's number one tip that I want to leave you with. Okay. Second tip that I was given that I want to talk about is understand real estate is not just about properties and purchases and money. There is, how do I say it right? There is a mental game that goes in there. And that mental game is a lot more important than the money and the property and the market. The mental game is when buyer or seller get too excited and they're too edgy to make the deal happen, or they're too fearful, they're not pulling the trigger, or they want to overlook some of the things because they're in haste to get moving and they're just tired of having this stress on their head, etc., etc. There are multiple reasons there are mental game is at the play in between deals. So you want to pay attention to that. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are being led and coached and mentored and educated on how to overcome those mental gaps. And who does that? Step one, your professional. In that PDF, one of the things I list qualities of a professional is their ability to educate, coach, mentor, and lead in the marketplace. Not only they should be leading you, the chances are they're probably going to have to lead the other side, because the other side is probably trapped in some of those mental gaps as well. So if they don't fully understand that concept or comprehend that, it's going to be hard for them to lead. It's going to be hard for them to mentor and coach and educate you and help you navigate through that. Mental gaps happen no matter who makes deal and when they make deal. When I go to make my own real estate deals, guess what I have? I have mental gaps. Why? Because I'm emotionally attached to it. It's human behavior. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. You just want to make sure that you're not blinded by those mental gaps and they don't cost you money or stress. So you want somebody who understands them and proactively leads you through that. That's the second thing you got to pay attention to, is the mental gaps and how to overcome that. Because the number one reason of lost potential and stress in the deal is mental gaps. Surprising, isn't it? Third thing you want to do always is you want to pay attention to the network power of your professionals that you're choosing. Well, why is that important? And it's kind of somewhat seems like it's connected back to the professional again. Why is that important? Here is that successful investor friend told me. He says that because the network of your professional is gonna, or let me rephrase it. He said that network of the professional can become net worth in my deal. I'm like, okay, explain on that one too a little bit more. I was new back then. And he goes, well, think about it. Every industry out there where the professionals are at play, they should have a very highly successful, well-chosen, well-connected network of professionals other than themselves who are related to the same industry. And the example he gave was sports. He says maybe you see a big star in any sports, you can rest assured that person is one person who is the face. But let's face it, that's not just the one person doing all that work. There is a team of people around them. There are a team of people who do not do the same work this professional does, but their work is very needed and very imperative for carrying out the success for this professional, whoever is playing on the field. They say real estate is exactly the same. You may not need to know or do the legal work or the accounting work or the paperwork or the surveying of the property or the inspections of the property. He said, but you got to make sure you have the best of the best people in your network from all those fields. Because if I'm coming to you as a client, I pay very close attention to that, because that would mean I'd be saving a lot of money. I'll be getting quality advice in every step of the way of the things that are outside of your expertise area. And I'll be doing it in a stress-free way, because I don't have to deal with every Tom, Dick, and Harry of the market trying to find these professionals myself. They say, because when I'm missed off making a deal, I only have so much mental capacity. That mental capacity can go into me making a good, profitable deal, a successful deal, and good transition and move for my family, or it can go into chasing around people who are not maybe fully accountable, trying to kind of justify if they are worth my time or they will do a good enough job or not. They say you as a professional need to bring that to the table for me to kind of be able to feel comfortable. So I think us as average consumers, average families need to do that more than ever. Okay, most of the time we pay attention to just one, and that one is my realtor, my mortgage broker. Can I share something with you? I think one is a too small of a number to achieve anything great. Anytime that you see success out there, you see a team behind that success. If you want to create the success for your next real estate venture, you need to make sure there is a team behind it for you. And again, we go back to that PDF again. One of the points in that PDF that I'm talking about talks on that concept a little bit more, is who is in your network that you can refer me to, right? So I want you to pay attention to these 2 or 3 things. If you paid attention to these 3 basic things, who you are choosing as your professional, understanding the mind gaps that's going to happen and how to overcome that, and understanding the network value behind your professional. If you simply just recognize those 3 points and you utilize them in your next deal, I promise you, your next deal is going to be far better. As a matter of fact, you can take those 3 points and apply in any deal, anywhere. You'll come ahead. You know how I know that? Because what do you think 95% of the people are doing out there today? Where are they looking for their wins? They're looking for their wins in the property, in the prices, in the marketing, in the media, in the digital numbers, in the files. And are those important? Yes. But would they make as big of a difference as having a well-chosen professional? Probably not. So 90% of the winning is done here. If you learn to play here, you won't have to worry about here because you would win here every time you compete with this. Okay. So hope this makes some sense to you. When I talk about this PDF and guide, and that's your question is, well, can I get one of those? Yes, you can. Send me an email or text, call me direct if you want to. One of the things that we have specifically made sure in our practice that when people ask for information to us or ask some questions, they're going to get the answers and the information and the tools freely. There are literally no strings attached. No, you do not have to subscribe to anything. No, you do not have to send me your credit cards. And no, you do not have to worry about receiving 10 emails a day or 4 sales calls a day just because you want a PDF. We like to keep our practice very genuine, very authentic, very real. We are the best of the best in our game. And we like to continuously strive to kind of get even higher and get even bigger in our sphere. But we don't lose touch with the ground. I remember being in your shoes multiple times. I wanted to get answers to my specific questions, want to be able to kind of talk about some of my fears and hesitations without being worried about being taken advantage of. And really didn't want to kind of have the feeling that I'm bothering somebody just because I want to ask a question. And I needed that professional who picked up the phone and understood that, like, hey, I'm going to do business whether now or down the road, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe. But right now I just have some questions that I'm trying to get an answer to, and they can give me some straight answers that weren't wrapped around like when you're going to buy, when you're going to sell, right? That weren't wrapped around that. So when we started our real estate practice, we wanted to make sure that we are giving these answers to people in that fashion as if they were speaking to you as a friend. Like if my friend called me and asked me a couple of these questions, I probably won't try to grab his emails, trying to start marketing him everything I know, right? So we want to make sure that we treat people like that. Our ultimate goal is this. We want to build trust. We want to earn your a little bit of a relationship from you. And we want to make sure that we serve you right. We add some value to you. We bring some value to the table before you ever choose to do business with us or before you are ever ready to buy and sell. We want to make sure that we are adding some good value there. So here is what we believe in. If we build some trust, if we did earn some relationship, and if we are successful at adding value to you, then whenever time comes to do some business, we'd probably be among top 5 that you would call to at least give us an opportunity to share what we can offer, what we can bring to the table. And at that point in time, if we really truly offered you the most value compared to all your other choices, you'd probably choose to do business with us. And if we took the other route, which is kind of constantly mindlessly market on you and send you emails and calls and barrage of messages all the time, then we are kind of mixing ourselves in the crowd, aren't we? So I just want to kind of take a minute to talk about that concept that, hey, I fully understand where you're coming from. You do not have to be fearful. It's okay for you to not do business with us after you've asked us some questions. We are not for everyone. And I fully understand that. We get that. We may not be the best fit for you. But if we had some conversations and had some questions and we are not the right fit for you, I'd be the first one to raise my hand and tell you that. And maybe even lead you to a couple of other professionals who I think would be a better fit for you. Okay. End of the day, we want to earn relationships and we want to earn trust. And the only way to do it is through authentic integrous approach to business, and that's what we try to kind of carry through. Okay, hope this message has been helpful to you. Thank you for listening. I know it's a bit of a long one, and I'll try to put a little bit of music on behind it so at least you have something pleasant in there. And once again, sorry for all the blemishes in there. This is coming straight from my home office. Take care. Bye for now.